This is a different video, something I haven't done before but I enjoy doing, and that is logo design. I have done several designs over the years, mainly for myself and family businesses, some actively being used while others are concepts of possible futures. This video is on my first client outside of my personal bubble, so let's see how this goes. What first needs to be done is send over my questionnaire. A questionnaire is a list of questions that my client answers to help me better understand their brand or company and how they, more or less, want their logo design to be. Before I start, I did ask if I could feature this project on my channel, and they have said yes. They have requested to remain anonymous, but I'm able to feature the project however I please. Let's get started. This business is called Winslow Electric, with the taglines "Bringing Your Vision to Light" and "Sole Deo Gloria." Having two taglines will be tricky, but I'm sure I can make it work. Now, the company name gives away that this is an electric company, but it still helps me to know specific services or products. Turns out this company does a wide variety of service work for residential and commercial spaces. This tells me that the logo should look professional to appeal to large companies, but also approachable to everyday customers. Another important question is, where will this logo be used most? Their answer was website, social media, a company van, and business cards. This helps me understand that the logo needs to be simple and readable from small sizes, but also works well when blown up to van size. I'm thinking two designs where we have the main design for most of the branding and an icon version for small images and areas. At this point, I have a pretty generic idea of the brand, but I believe that an important part of a design is that it should be personal, and this is where we can get unique. I asked what the brand's personality is. Is it corporate, modern, professional? What feelings should this logo give to its viewers and possible customers? My client explains that they want the logo to give off competence, respect, confidence, and a caregiver feel. Again, this tells me to focus on that professional look, but I also need to have some soft areas, like round shapes or maybe a light font, perhaps a sans serif, something without sharp edges. Now, the next question sounds very similar to the third question, but this helps me understand the client and what they want to express with their brand. I ask for more details on their ideal customer, because I may not fully understand who their target audience is just from the previous questions. However, my client pretty much explained the same thing as before, wanting to appeal to home and small business owners, so professional but approachable. The next three questions ask who the competitors are, who my client admires, and who they want to differentiate from, and what sets them apart from those competitors. These questions show me the common themes of electric company brands and give me ideas on how I could differentiate from them but still look like an electric company. I'll come back to explain the do's and don'ts later. The next few questions are interesting but important. I ask if my client already has a logo. In this case, they said yes and provided their current logo in different forms. They said that they want to improve the design but not completely change it, which is fine. They clearly have an idea on what they want, but there are things that they feel could make it better. I agree, but let's see what they feel needs to change. So they think that the logo feels imbalanced in emphasis, which I'm guessing means that the icon is too big or bold compared to the type. However, they like the sharp and simplistic look. They also specified that they want to try to keep the split lightning bolt along with the red and blue color scheme. They explained that these are personal and would like to keep them, if possible. The next question is, how should the logo look and feel? Their answer was they wanted the design to impress, look professional, and have a tangible feel to it. The example given was the feeling of a silver dollar in your hand. Again, they want to keep the lightning bolt, but don't make it cartoony, and they prefer darker tones over light and vibrant colors. And they specifically like metallics. Metallics are tricky in logo design, but I've done it before. Next, I asked what kind of logo designs we would like to try. They said that they want an icon above or next to the text, but are open to suggestions. The colors they like are red, blue, black, gray, and maybe silver? I'm not sure if the question mark is them questioning all the colors or just silver. These three are capitalized, so I'm guessing my client really likes these colors. And the colors they don't like are yellow, green, orange, and pinks, purples. Orchid is definitely banned. My client requested to keep the bolt for the design, however they understood that bolts are pretty overused in the electrical community, especially with small businesses. Even so, they still want to stick to their plan but asked to try to make it distinguishable. They also said no to having light bulbs and cord ends added to the design, which is reasonable, but that means the bolt is going to do the heavy lifting of the design. At least it fits the heavy but not cartoony look they are going for. I mean, not sure what they're going for. Now that I have everything from the questionnaire, I put it all on a document. First, I assess all the competitors' designs for common themes, not so common themes, and the do's and don'ts of this project. Here's the common themes that I noticed. The majority of electric company logos tend to be text heavy, especially the large companies. A few of them have icons, which are typically simple and geometric. The font is mostly sans serif with a few exceptions, and they love to use the color blue and sometimes red and black. Now there are reasons for these themes. For instance, blue represents trust, reliability, and infrastructure, something my client wants to be known for, so I'll probably use blue in the design. Sans serif fonts are bold, modern, and are very legible at both large and small sizes. These logos are designed for regulatory trust more than brand memorability. So there are plenty of non-common traits in the service, however there are certain don'ts that I should avoid, such being light script or textured fonts, using more than 3 colors, and creating a complex icon. These are the 3 don'ts that I'm going to avoid for this project. What I want to keep in the design process is clean, professional typography, strong contrast and legibility, simple forms and shapes, clarity, and confidence. With all answers reviewed and organized, I can finally start the first designs. Since my client didn't want to deviate too much from the original design, I kept these very similar to the initial icon. I tried a few different ideas like making the negative space the bolt shape, encasing the bolt in different types of rings, and just leaving the bolt alone. My client said that they like designs 2 and 4 as they feel somewhat psi and sharp. They also requested to lengthen the bolt as it looked too stubby. My next step was to bring the drawn designs into a vector program where I could easily adjust and move things around. This is also where I started pairing the icon with some text for placement. I really liked the all-caps serif font of the original design, so I found a similar font, added the 2 icon versions in different positions, and paired each one with the taglines. My client really liked designs 2 and 4. Seems like a running gag. They also liked the font choice. Great! This means I don't have to change the font and we've nailed down the icon design. The next step was to add the colors, and previously stated, they like dark, metallic colors of blue, red, black, and potentially silver. I kept the blue and the red in the same spots as the original. The rings were the only things that I changed. I made a silver version and a colored version. My client said they liked the colored rings, but refused to tell me which one he liked more. However, they did ask me to remove the Sole Deo Gloria, as it wasn't supposed to be part of the logo. This is where I took artist initiative and chose the final version. I really liked the original design of having the icon between the company name and following the update but not completely change rule. I believed this was the best option. For the final design, I removed Sole Deo Gloria, centered the tagline, italicized it, as requested, and added an underline to fill the gap between the company name and the tagline. With that, this is the final design. It turned out really great and the client was super nice. Overall, this was a good experience and I really hope that this design will be used a lot. I hope you all enjoyed my process on logo design, and if you liked it, comment on what was your favorite part, or tell me which design you liked best out of these. Did you initially like a different design, or did you agree with the client? Well, that's all I have, so thanks for watching and see you later.